Hey everyone, Josh Parker here again. Today I want to talk about some comping techniques that you can use to kind of further your accompaniment skills on the instrument. Comping, if you're not familiar with that term, means you're playing the chords behind a soloist, but you're not necessarily doing it in a rhythmic sense as far as like playing rhythm guitar, for example, like in a blues, where you're doing the kind of the same thing, same pattern over and over and over. I'm not quite talking about that. It's a little different. Comping, at least in my eyes, you're feeding off of what the soloist and the rest of the band is doing and really getting that interaction between everybody together. So what you play isn't exactly going to be the same thing every single time. So the example we're going to use for the chords here is the A section to rhythm changes. So rhythm changes, if you don't know that, is a very, very common chord progression in jazz. But basically it's 1-6-2-5 for the first four measures here, and that's in B flat. So 1 is B flat major, 6 is G minor, 2 is C minor, 5 is F7, then it does that again. The 5 F7 becomes F minor, to B flat 7, to E flat major 7, and then to A flat 7. So I think of that as 2, 5, 1 to a dominant 4 in the key of E flat. But there's a few different ways you could analyze that, but coming from a jazz perspective, that's usually the way most people will think about it. And then the last two measures here are 1-6-2-5 again, so B flat, G minor, C minor, F7. So in a jazz context, those voicings that I just played would work, but they're not very interesting. And also the voice leading between them could be a lot better. One thing that we can do is add more extensions. Instead of just playing the 7th, you could add the 9th on top. Or you could play 6ths, or 13ths, or minor 9s, or minor 11s. More color with the higher extensions like that. The second thing we can do is we can lose the bass notes, and in this case those are the roots. One reason why you might want to do that is if you're playing with a bass player, they're going to be playing those notes anyway, so you're just kind of getting in their way and adding more redundancy that's just going to kind of turn into mud more than anything. So adding more extensions would sound like this: B flat major 7, G minor 9, C minor 7, F9. Do that again. B flat, G minor 9, C minor 7, F9, F minor 9, B flat 13, E flat major 9, A flat 13, B flat major, G minor 9, C minor 7, F9. That, as far as the jazz context, sounds a lot better and a lot closer to what we're going for. And also the voice leading, at least on guitar, is a little bit better doing that. The other thing we can do to get it even closer to the jazz sound that we're looking for is to add tensions, because right now we don't have any tension in it, because we're just playing basically out of B flat major. So there's nothing that's outside of the key to add tension other than just 5 to 1 on the and the 7ths in them. Now to add tension is to add what's called a secondary dominant. Specifically talking about the G minor here, we can make that a G7, and that is going to function as the 5 chord of C minor. So we have 1 to the 5 of 2 to 2. So we get more of those 5 to 1 cadences in classical music, how you might think about it, but in jazz we're just thinking about it as tension and release. Especially when you add the flat 9. So it really propels your ear to, hey, we're going somewhere else, rather than just kind of staying in the same key. But we can do that through the A section just like that. So B flat major, G7 flat 9, C minor, F7 flat 9, then that would go again, then F minor, B flat 7, E flat major, and the A flat 7 would all kind of stay the same because we're not adding more tension there. You could if you wanted to, especially on that B flat chord, like you can make it B flat 13, flat 13, B flat 7, flat 13. But in this case, we can kind of leave it as is, and it gets the job done really well. The other thing we can do, other than just adding tension in the chords, is add tension with the rhythms that we're playing. So playing a lot of syncopations and things off the beat will help achieve that. So this is number 2 if you're paying attention with a PDF. Alright, so the next thing we can do to even further this tension idea is add tritone substitutions. Tritone substitution, if you don't know what that means, is a dominant chord played a tritone from wherever you're at. So if we're on B flat 7, it would be E7. And the short explanation of what this achieves is you're now making the chord that you're playing, like B flat 7, an altered B flat 7 sound. But instead of having B flat in the bass, now we have E in the bass. So this you'll hear bass players do a lot because, for example, that 2-5-1 and E flat major, so F minor 9, B flat 7, E flat major. The bass player now just has to go F, E, E flat. So they're just walking down chromatically rather than doing the big 5th and 4th jumps. In the rhythm changes example, a good spot to do that example would be, instead of playing G7, we could play D flat 7. We could also do that on the F chord. We could play B7. Basically, anywhere you have a dominant chord, you can do this tritone idea. You can also do it whenever you have a minor chord or a major chord, a tritone away, and again, it's just going to add more tension, but you got to make sure that you resolve it correctly, because if you don't resolve it right, it's going to be a little odd sounding. The other thing we can do here is we can substitute the B flat chord for a D minor chord. This is another really common thing you'll hear. So right here, go to D minor, and it kind of helps prolong that that progression without completely resolving it back home to 1. This is number 3 in the example. And the last thing that we can do here is we can add a melody line or a counter melody within our chords to kind of guide your voice leadings, but also your rhythms and your chord voicings into each other. This is really difficult to achieve if you're not paying attention to the soloist, because you can really kind of step on a lot of people's feet, if you will. So you have to really use your ears and pay attention to what's going on in the moment. For example, like this first 2 measures of it, we have this F on top, up to A flat, then down to the B flat. So that F, A flat, B flat, G is kind of our melody there. Then we have this little counter melody. Be very careful when you implement it, because you don't want to step on everybody, and your goal as an accompanist is not to be the center of attention. It's just to kind of help reinforce what is going on and make everybody else sound good. So number 4 is going to sound like this.